nonprofit panel with the Cura Project. And the Cura Project will be sharing their experiences, struggles, goals, and methods to becoming a successful nonprofit through this interactive panel. So the Cura Project, if you guys are ready, you can take it away. And I believe you guys have a presentation.
Yes.
So if you could just let us know who needs to share their screen. We can give you
would it possible for me to get screen sharing? Karina.
Sure. Trisha. Okay,
Yep, you should
go ahead.
Screen share.
Right. Can someone confirm that you see the correct screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
All right. Hi guys, I'm Shravan.
Hi, I'm Vidya.
Hi, I'm Karina.
I'm Bhavya.
I'm Monique.
And we are part of Cura Project, a Seattle-based 501c3 nonprofit who spreads education and awareness about overlooked health causes.
What does Cura Project do? So as Sean said, we're a 501c3, essentially raising awareness for different health and mental conditions. So we try to do 50% fundraising and 50% education. And so the way we kind of do this is for fundraising, we do three main things. So we have donations, our fundraising events, and then we also have larger events, kind of like our Camp Cura, which is a 3-week long summer program in July. Then on the other side of it, on the education side of it, we do 5 main things. So our first thing is our podcast, Curatively, where we have different professionals, different doctors, different organizations just come on and speak with us. Then we have media, so social media such as like Facebook, Instagram, and such, where we post different infographics, kind of get everyone going. And then we have webinars and panels and events like those, free events for people to join and educate themselves. And then we also have, on the educate side of it, kind of our blog. So that's a written style education where people, our blog writers, write like more creative writing. So that's a little bit about Cura.
And then when it comes in terms of like our mission statement, we kind of phrased it in a way that our like the general like audience can help us out to achieve our mission of raising awareness. So I'll just read it out. In our world today, there are many health conditions that go overlooked. As the next leaders, we are educating and raising awareness to these causes through many different avenues, giving opportunities for everyone to involve themselves and make an impactful change in our society. With Cura's mission being to offer a platform where people take initiative, learn, and contribute to ongoing health conditions, your support helps us bring one step closer to our mission.
And ever since Cura Project has started, the team has come together and accomplished the following things. We've raised $31,000, gathered over 100 members onto the team, gained over 8,000 followers across all platforms, hosted 19 events, have had over 500 podcast listeners, and reached over 657,000 social media accounts.
So how we started. In June 2020, we were in isolation because of COVID-19. And so that's when our idea developed. We were just watching the news and looking at everything that was going around us in the world. And we decided that we needed to do something. We had to give back to our community. And that's when we knew that we wanted to start a nonprofit. But we never had any general idea. We just, we didn't know what the name was. We didn't know anything. And July 2020 is when we actually started having just like small FaceTime calls, Google Meet calls, and started like thinking of the idea. So we started from the very beginning of brainstorming what we want our nonprofit to be based off of, right? So we had to think of a name, our mission, and like basically all of the foundation, created the logo, our color scheme, everything. After all of that was done, we launched on Instagram in August 2020, and as well as launched our website simultaneously. In September 2020 is when our first cause and first fundraiser were held as well as launched. And so that was super exciting. A lot of our family came to support us. So that's when we knew we had like the people we wanted, but we also knew that we needed to get more people the next time. So it was kind of like, it was a really good event, but we also learned a lot from it. And then December 2020 is when we opened up applications for a general team. And that's when general team started. And we got over 30 people through that.
So now, fast forward a year later from when we launched, we have over 120 people on our team from worldwide. So countries include Canada, United States, Malaysia, Australia, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, China, and Georgia.
So the different positions that we open up within the Cura Project team, it allows for people who are like around our age, younger and older, to join Cura to help us make the change that we want. And this can be like joining our different teams, whether it be like our research team, our marketing team, our outreach team, or through just coming and supporting us through the different fundraisers that we hold. So we've held like baking workshops, cookie decorating workshops, cooking workshops, like dance workshops, and this is just for people who just want to come like support us, they can. And for people who just want to learn more about what we're doing, more about our cause, and more about Cura Project as a whole, they can join our webinars where they can like just get a lot more information about what's actually happening in the world past what we're posting on our social media and our website.
Okay, so moving on from who we are now to like the actual stuff you guys signed up for. How do you start a nonprofit? So the first thing is like I mentioned before, there's a series of questions that we asked ourselves, and it's also like you should ask yourself those series of questions as well when you're thinking of starting a nonprofit. So number one is, what type of nonprofit are you interested in starting? So this can be like various, like you could do something related to humanitarian and aid. You could do something related to medicine, technology, STEM in general, or like the society, or it could be a mixture of things. It's your choice. Where does your passion lie is basically what you have to figure out in number one. Then move on to the next question. What services will you provide and how practical is it? So this, again, you have so many choices. Do you want to be a solely fundraiser-based organization where all you guys do is like put out fundraisers events? Or do you want to add a little more? So do you want to put out tutoring services? Do you want to give out dance classes? So what services will you be providing it? And is it practical, especially with like COVID-19 and everything? And the next question is, what is your competition and other people providing the same services? This is where research would come in. So you have your brainstorm. Now you have to go out onto the internet and see like if whatever you think is practical enough. Like, do you think there's room in the world for another nonprofit? And do you think your idea is like innovative enough? Right? So this is where a lot of reiterating and editing would come in with your brainstorm. And then number four is, what is your advantage or what separates you from the rest? Again, you guys have to be unique, right? Like every nonprofit has to be able to offer a different thing to the world. So what is your like big selling point, I guess, is what you have to figure out after you've done the research of what other people are. And then number 5 and 6 is very similar. Basically, what it's saying is you have to ask yourself those two questions to make sure that you can keep up with your nonprofit. Do you think it's possible for you to do a monthly thing, or do you want it to be bi-monthly? Do you want there to be like a fundraiser every like 3 months, 2 months, 1 month? Like you have to figure out whatever your mission is, how are you going to keep up with it? Is basically what you have to ask yourself.
So the next thing is 6 kind of characteristics or qualities that you should have within yourself and your team that we kind of laid out. These are what we thought were kind of like the 6 most important ones. So the first one is passion. And what we kind of like to say is you can never have your nonprofit start feeling like work. The minute it starts feeling like work, you're no longer going to put in that same effort into it. Instead, it should be something you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about it, it's not going to feel like work. Instead, it's going to be something that you're interested in, something you want to keep going, something you want to spend those countless hours on a day. We spend like 3 to 4 hours a day on this. And so if it started feeling like work, we would get really busy out of it, bored of it. And so it has to be that passion, which kind of leads me into dedication. So with dedication, it's something you have to be dedicated to. This is hopefully presenting a long-term opportunity for you and also the people you kind of get involved. And so you have to be dedicated to that mission, but to the things you're doing. If you're not dedicated to them, you can't expect an outside person. So for example, if you're doing a fundraiser for doing it, there's no really reason to it. I'm just kind of doing it. then you can't expect, your followers to come and attend that fundraiser, because if you don't show your passion and dedication for it, how can you expect someone else to kind of join in? Next thing is inspiration, which I think is really important. Whether you kind of have some nonprofit friends, some other nonprofits they kind of like talk to, get inspiration from, see what's happening in the community, kind of someone or something they can kind of bounce ideas off of and inspire yourself to do, push yourself further. The next thing is community, which is something us founders can say is a big thing internally. And then Monique can kind of vouch on within our team. So community is a big thing because there's going to be many hardships along the way, several hardships, and you need someone kind of pushing you on and kind of rooting for you, even in the backseat, kind of supporting you. So for us, we're really lucky to say that we have like a lot of people in Seattle, our entire school, all our staff members, they've always pushed us to do better. Our friends, our like local area. And then internally, we have an amazing community within our team that kind of supports each other, kind of laughs each other on. And so that community really helps us keep going. Next thing is ideas. You kind of have to be a water well with ideas, because otherwise you're gonna have a standstill at one point. So kind of thinking, being creative. What are some things that you want to see? And probably other people want to do those too. So kind of having that flow of ideas continuously. And then last thing is mentors. And this is really important. We're all teenagers. So for us, mentors was something that was really important. Someone in the industry who's done this before, because this is new to us. And so we needed someone to go to for questions. There's different types of questions. There's legal questions, with like the legal side of a nonprofit, and there's all of these other things. So it's really important that we kind of look to those mentors to kind of help like angst ourselves and get those questions answered.
So yeah, so eventually there'll come a point where you're taking too much on as like the founders of your nonprofit, and you're not able to expand or grow your nonprofit anymore, and it's just more about like the upkeep and stuff. And at that point, you might consider starting a team. And so like the one thing that you always want to remember before you even take like any new step, whether it be starting a new team, starting a new project within your nonprofit, making sure that you're always looking up to your mission statement, because that is the biggest goal that you'll ever set for your nonprofit. And so like one thing that we like to do at Cura is before we take a new step forward is we just ask ourselves like mentally, how is this helping me achieve my mission? And sometimes we'll actually like write it out, and it makes it a lot helpful because then we can understand like where are we going wrong, where are we going off track, and then it keeps us like on that path. And then a few tips and tricks within yourself and the founding team, and then externally within your team. Before starting a team, first you want to create a step-by-step process to handle applicants for yourself, whether that be writing out on like a Google Doc. What is my interview process? What are my interview questions? What are the roles that we're interviewing? Do we have specific interview questions for different roles? So you want to write it out for yourself because mentally it becomes a little too much to handle. Second is figure out where will your team communicate internally, whether that be Slack, Discord, iMessage, Instagram, group chat, or something like that. You want to make sure that you understand the platform for yourself completely, and that you actually know full knowledge of it, because team members will come to you with like questions. For example, with our Discord that we have within our team, there's a lot of things that we have to figure out with like roles, making different channels, privacy settings, and all that type of stuff. Second is deciding on a clear set of rules and regulations that define the working environment. Like Karina said, we try to create like this community within Cura, but that said, you also need to have a few like things that define that community and the culture of your nonprofit. An example would be sharing social media posts on your personal social media accounts or something like that. That's just an example, but like something along those lines. Fourth thing, you want to define boundaries within each person's role, because then a lot of the time what happens is there's a lot of confusion and conflicts that occur. So you want to make sure that you give everyone a specific like working space and that they have a role within your nonprofit, and it's not like someone's taking on too much and then the other person taking on too less. And kind of how to do that is delegating tasks. When you notice that someone's taking on too much, maybe passing on your task to someone else who doesn't have as much, so everyone has a balanced amount of works and not too much on their plate. The last thing is setting deadlines and make timelines to make sure that everyone is on track. Within Cura, we have a shared team calendar, and everyone enters in their projects in there. And that way they can set like timelines for themselves and everyone stays in the loop of what's going on within Cura. And so that's just like another like helpful thing to keep in mind.
Just one little thing before we move on about starting a team. The bigger the team, the more organization. So it's really key for you guys to first start off with the small team, make sure your organization skills are on point and like everything is like running smoothly, and then add more people as you see fit. Because when you have like 70 people or more, it gets really hard to maintain them, and also make sure that every single person has work and make sure that every single person is doing the work. So it's really important to start small and then go big. Siobhan.
Yeah, and so how has COVID impacted Cura? So Cura started during COVID at the like very beginning of like the initial quarantine, and so it kind of like helped us figure out our problem solving skills as a founding team because we had a lot of time to do that. So we learned how to like communicate between each other, how to like problem solve like anything that comes up, which like happens when you're a founder, and also like compromising. So not everyone's going to get their way, but like the way that but we have to like compromise to make sure that like we can still like run smoothly, and that like everyone's like not annoyed at the decisions being made. And it also has helped us with when it came to our events, because we're able to not just do events in like the Seattle area or like wherever we have team members. We're able to do them like all around the world, and this is just because like Zoom has made it accessible for us to be able to do that. It also helps us like expand our reach, getting people from all those different places, and also helps us with our attendance because we're not just focusing in one area and like one demographic. And it's like impacted our team in a very like in a positive way, because we do have a very we have an international team, so it makes it really hard for all of us to like get together and do like a bonding event. So like Zoom is like Zoom, Discord. So it's made it very, very easy for us to connect with our team. Also, it's helped us manage our team way better, just because everything's online, and so there's nothing that's like being shuffled around in our hands. And when it comes to dividing up work, one quick message can give everyone like their tasks for like the week, and makes life very easy for like our team members and ourselves. And also it helps us think about the future a lot easier, because we're able to just like continue moving on while still having everything in the background.
Yeah, I think additionally about our team. Sorry, okay. I think.
All right. Oh. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So just a little bit more about the team management portion of this. It was definitely a hurdle that we had to jump over, and there's a truck outside my window. Anyways, there was definitely a hurdle that we had to jump over when, with COVID-19 and all of us being online, because like everything was really new, right? How do you bond with your team if you can't like meet in person and like, I don't know, go get boba or something, you know what I mean? So like everything was like new, but it was easier online than it would have been if we were all in person. And it also like widened our horizons. Like did a lot more than we could have done in person, right? So yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Okay, so the next thing is getting help. And we kind of touched on this previously, but what does help mean? So in this way, it's expansion. What I can kind of vouch for as one of the founders is help is the way you're going to survive. I saw a question in the chat about how do you manage everything. It is our team. We love our team. Without our team, we would not be anywhere. And so managing everything is because we have so much help. We were very conscious in hiring a team that was as passionate about Cura as we are. And so having so many helping hands has helped us tremendously. And so I would recommend the same. And honestly, getting a team also is very beneficial, because like my talent is not all aspects of Cura. Divya, Bobby, Shravan, same thing. For example, Monique is our director of design. She is far more talented in design than any of us. And so that's kind of an example of hiring a team includes people kind of having a very different skill set. And so different variety of skill sets coming together just builds a stronger team. And so the first thing when like identifying and kind of hiring that team is, what do you need help in? What are you either lacking in right now, or what do you need to help expand? So a team kind of helps in one way. It helps you compensate for what you're already doing internally, but also helps you grow. So first and foremost is like figuring out yourselves internally before the growth. So kind of identify which areas you need help with. And then deciding a role description and those positions. So this is really important because the role description is kind of what's gonna keep that like position intact and kind of funnel down. So everyone, as Divya mentioned, is doing their own tasks and not going into more or less. And so kind of having that role description and creating that for yourself, but also the team member you're hiring, so that way you all know what's kind of going on. Next thing is marketing these these positions. And honestly, during COVID, it's been easier to market these positions for a couple of reasons. One is teenagers are looking for positions. Right now, you could ask almost any teenager and they are trying to get a position. They want to help volunteer. They want to get a leadership position. And so marketing was kind of the easiest part positions wise, because so many kids are looking for opportunities and they would do anything to join your nonprofit and kind of help you out. Then making a contract. This kind of gets on the legal side of things, but this kind of helps you know that you have a binding contract with that team member, that they won't leak passwords, they won't leak internal like stuff. They won't also like take like your stuff and change it and make it their own. Like all of those like scary things that kind of come in. It's building that trust. So that contract is really important. And then creating a starter pack. The starter pack is all the information to help them get started. Kind of catch them up on everything Cura related. The last thing is pre-writing everything and kind of coming together into one clean document, as Divya said, making it organized, making the emails pre-written, the decision process, and then launching.
All right, on to the internal stuff. So in order to have a cohesive external appearance, all internal systems must be smooth and fluid. So Cura tends to focus on 3 topics, such as organization, reflection, and failure. So in terms of organization, there's great usage of Google Suite, as mentioned before, which includes drives, meets, calendar, forms, and those are for obvious functions, as well as Discord for communication and Volunteer to track volunteer hours. The team is well organized into different branches, such as founders, exec, and core team, and this really aids in communication, which is super important between founders and the entire team. And when it comes to roles, we usually have monthly role allocation meetings, and normally weekly check-ins are required to make sure that all team members know their tasks for the coming month and that they're always on top of it. And though different execs have unique ways of managing their team, the most common method that Cura uses is to divide and conquer. And when it comes to reflections, which is super important, so following the end of a month, event, or year, we make sure to reflect on successes as well as failures, because they're both super important. And this includes asking questions such as, what can we improve on? How can we expand? What worked and what didn't? How did we succeed? What did our followers like? And how can we do it again? And this really helps everyone learn and grow from past experiences, so that we can kind of replicate and maybe make edits to what has been done before. And last but definitely not least, failure. Failure is all part of success. It's tough and difficult, but in the end, no one is truly judging you. We kind of mentioned it throughout the presentation, but what's super important is that all possible scenarios have been planned for in advance, and that you kind of have a backup plan. So failures usually stay internal as a personal responsibility. They aren't supposed to be seen externally. So if it's your own, you take the responsibility of kind of fixing it up and seeing where you should go next. It's important to reflect on what happened and decide what the next step should be. And in the end, it's important to note that learning from failures is what allows us to grow.
Okay, so discussing a little bit more about the avenues that Karina has mentioned before. So again, we have 6 different avenues. We have fundraisers, events, our Curatively podcast, the tutoring program, research, and media. So all of these different avenues relate to our mission in one or another way, and that's like incredibly important. And I urge you guys, when you start your nonprofit, everything that you do, all of the services that you guys provide, it has to center around your mission statement. Okay, so first avenue is our fundraisers. So obviously this is for raising funds for the different mental and health conditions that we are supporting every 2 months. So some past fundraisers, one of our huge like events and fundraisers was our summer camp, because we raised $28,000 through it, and we had over 200 participants throughout the entire camp. So that was like our biggest fundraiser. That's where most of our money came from. And we also had a few small fundraisers throughout. Like we had a baking workshop, and we have dance workshops, and et cetera, et cetera. So everything is just small things that we give to the community, and they it's like their way of having fun, as well as giving back to whatever mental and health condition that we're supporting. So it's really important the way you market your fundraisers, and how much it is to join it, because it does have to be reasonable. And since we're online, you can't really price everything. So like it's really important to know how to price your fundraisers and how to market it. So you receive how you market it for the specific demographic that you need for the fundraiser, right? So yeah, and then events is very similar to fundraisers. The only difference with events is that you don't collect funds. So this is more of where our educating comes in, because we have different things like the career panel and mental health webinars and stuff like that, where we just try to get our name out there. So please know that like Cura Project is out there. Come join our event. You'll see what we do. We go into more of like other opportunities that we offer, and we do a lot more things like that. So events are a way to market as well as educate people. Curatively podcast is like it's like my favorite thing, because it's like super fun. All of the founders sometimes go on and do some podcast episodes, but Curatively is basically our main way of also educating them, because we try to get other nonprofits on, talk about how they started their nonprofit, how was their experience. We try to get different doctors on, and we try to talk to them about their health or mental condition that we're covering that month, right? We get like whoever we can, and we just try to give our family and followers just a little bit more information about like what's going on, right? So that's our way of educating. And the tutoring program was also a different thing that we created. It's like a whole new service, as I've mentioned before. And basically, the idea was for us to tutor different like children, like elementary school, a few in middle school, and we had like 15 tutors, and we were just looking for kids that we can tutor. So the tutoring program is still open right now for anybody who wants to get tutoring done, but we are rebranding the tutoring program into something a little different, so just like watch out for that. But that was actually our way of raising funds and educating at the same time, I guess. And then we have in-depth research. So our director of research and our research team work really hard to put out like educate posts, updating our educate page on our website, blog posts. Like the research is used basically everywhere. And again, it's another way to educate people, because we want to be 50% funds and 50% education, right? So a lot of in-depth research papers get made, and so that's definitely something a lot of our followers like to check out. And then last but not least, media. So this is basically where we do all of the above. We try to get like this, where a lot of the marketing goes in for fundraisers events, right? We have basically any social media platform that you can name. And it's a way that we educate, as well as we try to promote everything. And that's where we make our little nonprofit group friends, right? So we like try to, hype up different nonprofits on our stories and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it.
And so like kind of where we are now is in this past December, we hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. We've now are around 3,500. And then in January, we decided to switch up causes from doing one every month to doing one every other month. And this is just so we can put out like good research and a lot of information on that one cause and fundraise as much as we can for that cause. And then in February, we started expanding our team from that like 30 people you saw initially to a lot more, and we started increasing the amount of fundraisers and events that we were doing. just to help get Cura's name out there. And that's kind of where like we started to really like go somewhere, I guess. And then in March we got our 501c3 certification, which was really exciting because we were like stressing about that for like months while our application was being processed. And then in April, we had our first 2 webinars, and these about autism, and then those had a combined total of 100 attendees, and that was really insane.
Okay, so we have a few open positions on our team right now. And they're definitely go check them out if you're interested in joining the Cura team. So we have ambassadors, which are just like our local marketing team, which we like to call them as. And so they market in their local environments. Second is our design team, which Monique is director of design, so that makes her really happy. And that's just designing posts for our Instagram, our Facebook, all our social media, and illustrating also. The third thing is website analyst. And this is just tracking our website analytics, and coming up with like solutions on how we can do better, building like our domain or like working with Google AdSense or something like that. Okay, I'll just go over these as well. So the next is secretary, which is an executive position, and they kind of manage everything internally within our team, making sure that everyone is on track and making sure that everyone's meeting those deadlines that we talked about earlier. Second is our Camp Cura committees, which are going to help with our summer camp for next summer. And they'll work on the background, making sure that the camp runs efficiently. So there's a sign-ups committee, activities committee, and an outreach committee. And there's more details if you check out like our card on our Instagram. And I think Karina put a link in the chat for our website as well. Last is Camp Cura directors, and they'll make sure that they're overseeing all the Camp Cura stuff with like the committees and such. And then they are also in charge of running like the camps each day.
All right, so we finally reached the end. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed our presentation today, please feel free to reach out and connect with us at our email, our website, and our social media platforms.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know I saw one in the chat about how do we like manage everything. And everyone can kind of vouch on this in their own separate ways. But for me, like I mentioned it before, it's our team. We love our team. It's how we like divide and conquer everything, and just building that community. But it is a lot of time management as well. If someone else kind of want to add on.
And then also like, go ahead, Bobby, sorry.
Okay, so basically, exactly, it's a lot of time management because as founders, you also have to look over your team, right? Again, making sure everyone's doing something. So it is a lot of work regardless, but like one main way that we like to manage our time with all of the meetings that we have to attend is our Google Calendar. So everything is like blocked out. So basically, if we have to study for the ACT a day that we're like in back-to-back meetings, then we would have to block that time out so that you can make sure that you can work on the ACT or whatever school stuff you have to do around that, right? So a lot of scheduling ahead and like blocking time out for yourself and for your family.
Yep. And then another thing is prioritizing. So some days Cura might take first priority. Some days that school might take first priority because you have like an upcoming final, or like the SAT might take first priority. So it's just like making that little like, I don't know, like to-do list for yourself every single day, and making sure that you're like organizing in a way that you can go through like each priority first and then get to the bottom.
Monique and Sharon, do you have any like additional things, or do we kind of cover it?
I have anything to
Yeah, I would say like just going off of Divya, like really blocking things out and making sure you know where your priorities are at, making sure you're saving time for like the things that you need to do and the things that you should be doing for yourself. So like taking care of yourself so that you have enough energy to really give to all the things that you're part of.
Okay, Sharon, do you want to take this next question on? How long did the 501c3 certification take?
My favorite question. So we applied in November of 2020. So it took about like 3 months. It took about 3 months because we got it in about early March. So it took, so about 3 months is how long it took. I don't think it's actually taking that long now, because I was talking to my friend and he's like, um, and he was like, yeah, we got our 501(c)(3) pretty fast. So I think it was just like the time that we applied was, I got the time that a bunch of nonprofits were starting.
Okay, next question is, how do you encourage other team members to become passionate about your cause? And this is kind of a two-step question. I think first, like I mentioned before, when we're doing our interview and our applications, we look for that passion. Just because I think that's like, if you don't have that root passion, I think like it'll never come. The second thing is making them feel like they're important. Not giving those like small tasks like cold emailing. That doesn't make someone feel important. That makes someone feel like they're just being an assistant. Giving them those bigger tasks. So for example, our events coordinators, they get to plan their own events. And those type of things like giving our team, like our blog writers, we don't assign what they write, they get to choose. And giving them that creative freedom to do what they want is builds their passion, because they feel like they're contributing their own ideas into something and makes them feel more important. And then those things turn out better because it's something they wanted to do. So that kind of like encompasses. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, additionally, when you're what the question is asking, how do you encourage your team members to be passionate about your cause? Well, they don't need to essentially be passionate about supporting health and mental conditions. They could also be passionate about just spreading awareness about everything. Like, for example, for blog writers, they could just be really passionate about the writing, and then obviously we'll accept them because we do want good writers, right? So instead of passionate about our cause, there's like, they could be passionate about a various number of things, but we just have to make sure that they have the dedication as well, like mentioned before, so that we could, accept them into the team and we know that they'll thrive.
And then kind of answering the next question, what is the financial cause of starting a nonprofit? Initially, when you're starting everything up, so like buying a domain, it's like it's an investment. Like we like to think of it in that way. Like it's gonna last you a while, but I would say it's like a couple hundred just to get everything started up. But once you like actually get your nonprofit growing, it's not too much with just like maintaining it. With event hosting costs, we actually make sure that everything's done like on a volunteer basis, so the events actually volunteer their time to us, and which is like we're really grateful for that. A lot of people don't do that, and like I said, like maintaining it's not too much work. Licenses and stuff, that's not too much money either. The 501(c)(3) I think was like $100.
3 to 400.
Yeah, 3 to 400. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can give like the kind of the cost breakdown of everything. So because we're in Washington, to incorporate in the state was $50. And then our 501(c)(3), which I think was the most expensive thing, was $275. And then to reaffirm yourself with the Secretary of State, and that's regarding articles of incorporation, it's $10 a year. And then after that, website,
I think it was 100.
yeah, it's
No,
about
it's like it's on like a scale of 100 to 200 depending on what plan you buy, and since we have the store, it's like $200.
Yeah.
And then like small things like Zoom Premium, like those type of things where it's like optional, but it helps with operations.
Yeah, like really, I think the only license that we do have is Zoom, and that's like $20 a month, and that's like $20 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think the last question, how do you manage all the volunteers to keep them interested? Okay, so I can take part one of this. So managing. This is, so we kind of like talked about this before, but it's we have our founders, and then below us we have our secretaries and our executive team. They are our biggest help. That's what keeps everything. We have so many systems in place set in order to manage everyone. But it takes help. For example, I can vouch for our design team. There's 20 people. Without Monique, there's no way I would have been able to manage them. So that's kind of an example of like, it's like we help each other out. But we also have systems. So we have Volunteer, which helps track everyone's volunteer hours. So we don't have to manually track them. They track them themselves. Keeping like plans, everything scheduled is all like schedules, documents, Google Suite. So we use a different platforms for everything, but I think our main thing would be is our exec team and our secretaries.
Actually, sorry, I have an interview that I need to go attend, so I'll drop off.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I love you. All right. Well, I think that is the final of the questions. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to the Artshine Foundation for hosting us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. You did amazing. We love the presentation, and we've been, kind of following your work since last year. And I'm sure it's the other way around too. So it's really awesome to see how you guys have grown. And thank you so much for this awesome presentation. I'm sure everyone could take a lot away. Me too, honestly, like as a nonprofit leader. I had one more question for you guys, and that was about how you guys distribute the workload among yourselves. I am one single founder, so it's a little bit easier, but you guys are like 5. So how does that dynamic work for you guys?
So kind of, Debbie, go ahead.
Honestly, at a point, it's really difficult to be very honest. It is difficult, but like I think all of us have like our own little sections. For example, like Siobhan manages like the finance, legal, the research side of things, and we all have our like individual teams that we kind of split up within each of us. It makes it a lot easier that way. I feel like with one founder, all the work is like on you. You're keeping track of like everything, and it just like we're lucky to have like enough to like split it up between us. It just took a while to figure out where that like little balance was for us.
Yeah, kind of touching, that's exactly the biggest point is what I was going to talk about, is that balance, like that boundary. It took several months to find. But I think finally, like I can say after a year, we're in a smooth sailing rhythm of each of us have 3 to 4 departments that we manage. And then we have a couple exec team members underneath us. And so we just manage our own stream, and each of us have our own stream. Sometimes the streams combine, sometimes they don't, but it took a little bit to find that balance that each of us were doing our 25% to bring it to 100.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you guys are doing this at such a young age. And I think, we should all draw some inspiration from that, and also be more motivated to go out and impact our communities. So thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciated your presentation, and hope to stay in touch in the future. And you guys have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.